What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Spread the Positive podcast. I am your host, Trent Denson, founder of Spread the Positive and STP Productions, where our mission is to bring light to what's going right and to showcase and facilitate efforts that are making a positive impact in our local communities and beyond. Be sure to check us out, spreadthepositive.net. And also, if you're looking to get involved with the STP Podcast Network, please reach out and just check out all the amazing shows that are on the network. We continue to grow. We continue to build. Be part of the solution. Be part of what's going right. Welcome to the show.
Hey, my name is Brian Nell. I'm a mortgage loan officer with Primis Mortgage. I want to tell you that I absolutely love being a member of the Spread the Positive Network. It's such a great mission and helps bring so much positivity to our community. It's truly be a pleasure to be a part of what they do. There are a lot of ways to navigate financing a home, and in markets like this, having the advice of a trusted local professional is key to making sure you get the right advice for your specific circumstances. Whether you're interested in the purchase of a new home, second home, or have a need for a refinance, I'd love to earn your trust. If I can help you nail your mortgage, call me at 615-243-3976 or visit nailyourmortgage.com.
Primis Mortgage is a subsidiary of Primis Bank, a member FDIC, equal housing opportunity. As always, all loans are subject to approval. Primis Mortgage, NMLS number 1894879.
This episode is also brought to you by Ron Young over at Eagle Communications. Eagle Communications provides the tools for companies to be more productive and safer from cyber hackers. We work with over 350 suppliers so we can provide a true solution based on a company's needs. Our services are business phone and voice over IP solutions, internet services, Wi-Fi networks, cybersecurity, and any technology that a business requires to operate. Work with a company that has over 35 years of experience. Give us a call at 615-278-9896 to find out how we can help. Huge shout out to Ron for his continued support for the STP network over the years. Grateful to have you as part of the STP 1200 Club, Ron. Thank you so much. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Spread the Positive podcast. I am your host, as always, Trent Denson. Man, got a very exciting show for y'all today. New friend of mine, connected with my guy Ryan Kennedy here through the Brand Builders family over in Brentwood. Shout out to our mutual friend Brent. Hi, I say that loosely. Y'all are really friends, but just wanted to have you in, man. He told me you had a heck of a testimony, a really, really awesome story, and a passionate, why these days, and successful business, all the above, man. It's what our tagline here is bringing light to what's going right. So man, just if you don't mind, take us back. I always like to start with early passions, childhood. You kind of talked a little bit about that before we got started. Sounds like you had a really pretty cool childhood, all that. So let's just get into it, man. Take it away.
Okay. Well, thank you first for having me.
Yeah, man.
Early childhood is, I would just say, first grade, second grade, everything was going pretty good.
Okay.
They diagnosed me with having attention deficit disorder when I was young.
Feel that.
Because I couldn't sit still in a chair. Right?
I get that.
Couldn't stand listening for too long without moving around. So school really didn't jive with me growing up.
Feel that.
But baseball, football, anything that had a ball in it, man, I
love it.
Passionate
Same
about
here,
it. But I would just say, as I was also not really blessed with very good height.
Yeah.
So I was always the short guy.
Feel you there.
Especially when I was younger, I was a runt.
Okay.
And so you had giants in the land at school, right?
Sure.
And if you've never been bullied before, it happens even in private school. I'm gonna promise
Oh,
you
yeah.
that.
Yeah, man. I hate that.
I hated it for me because I honestly didn't know what to do with it.
Sure.
And I after receiving, I don't know, several just like cheap shots here and there,
Sure.
started to despise certain friendships. Several people that made going to school hard.
Man.
Almost like you didn't want to go to school, so you were fighting, not want to get out of bed in the morning, things, those kind of things.
Man, when did that start? Like third grade?
Man, it was like third, yeah.
Wow.
About third grade. And
Damn.
It was it was definitely a hard time, and I wasn't opening up to my parents. I didn't want to talk about it. I had too much pride because I didn't want them to think that was going on. I was an older brother too.
Oh man!
So as the older brother, you don't want to tell the younger brother, you're going through stuff. So I really started paying attention to things that the average young kid doesn't really pay attention to. Like I was heavy into weightlifting, martial arts, wrestling, anything that was attitude, aggressive, revenge related. I was buying in like hook, line, and sinker. Because I had a lot of anger, and I was tired of getting pushed around.
Man,
I was in a place where I was like, I'm gonna fight back. But that also came to a place where I lacked a lot of judgment. Because I never would back down.
Oh boy.
Like if you're a bigger guy and you're picking on a smaller guy, you usually think you can just push him up against the wall, or you can give him a cheap shot and he's just going to sit there and take it.
Sure.
I got to the point to where I fought the biggest guys in school, and
for fun.
Yeah, you asked Brent like how big James Averill was. James Averill played tight end for Colorado State. He's a huge
smokes.
guy.
Wow.
He's like twice my size, and he started picking on me in the 4th grade. And I didn't matter how tall you were, how big you were. I fought the biggest, toughest guys in school.
Wow.
And because of that, I got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
In fact, I ended up getting kicked out of a private school, going to a public school, not making it into the public school, getting sent to another school out of state. Yeah. So that whole process of not knowing how to deal with your emotions. My parents were trying to deal with my ADHD.
Sure.
I'm dealing with internal.
They have no idea?
No.
Oh, wow.
None. I don't want to talk about it. I'm a closed book. And I've been that way a lot growing up to my detriment for sure. Because if I probably would have opened up, it would have been a lot better. But anyways, yeah. So that's been, most of my youth. I bet I got kicked out of 7 different schools for fighting.
Man.
Yeah, lots of fighting.
So I was a little premature in saying it was smooth sailing, man. My bad there. So, wow. Okay, so just standing up for yourself. There's definitely some good in that. You got to do that. Like if you don't, then to your point, man, you'll just be
people walk all over you.
Yeah, you can't have that. Not being able to talk about it, that had to be super hard. So that was like through middle school-ish or all the way through high school, or where are we now? Okay, so
fast forward, my parents basically don't know how to deal with me. They've got me in counseling with a Vanderbilt psychologist. Yeah. He's got me on Ritalin.
Oh, boy.
I'm spitting it out every time they give it to me because I can't stand it because I'm a hyperactive personality, and Ritalin does the complete opposite.
What's it do? Just like
mellows you out. It just makes you not want to do anything. So they sent me on a plane to South Carolina to live with a boarding family to go to a different school. And they said, look, he just needs a different environment around here because he's getting into too much trouble. If there's a bad kid out there, he's connecting with them. And the problem is when you're angry, angry kids hang out with other angry kids. And that's not a healthy thing. Right?
Get more angry.
Brent, if it wasn't for Brent and the kid, a lot of the rest of the friends that I grew up with at Brentwood Hills, I would have been 10 times worse than I was. They kept me in check as much as they could. Man, shouts to y'all. It hadn't been for a Christian family and a church, I probably would have been in jail by the time I was in 8th grade. And that's no lie.
Wow.
But yeah, going over to South Carolina actually worked against my parents' plan because a lot of those kids were troubled kids.
Sure.
And so like half the kids smoked pot that went to school there and heavier drugs.
Sure.
So that was our first, every weekend there was a party.
Sure.
And we could just sneak out the house, go to the party. That was the first time I was introduced to marijuana and other drugs. And so by the time I came home and my parents saw me for the first time, I was a different person.
Yeah.
I was getting into drugs. I was willing to drink. I was smoking. I was doing all the stuff like my parents had brought me up telling me not to do, I was doing. And so when they brought me back home, and actually I didn't tell you this, but I got kicked out of that school too for fighting.
In South Carolina?
My boarding parents kicked me out. They had enough of me. I got in a fight with my boarding dad. They kicked me out, sent me to a teacher who was graciously enough to let me stay with her.
Wow.
And then I stayed there for about 3 weeks before they shipped me back home to my parents, and they were like, he can't come back to school here. Man. So you talk about like John Ritter, the problem child, like I was that on steroids. Dude. Yeah.
That's wild. So that's all through high school.
Yeah.
And you're
No, that's 8th grade.
That's 8th grade.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So getting into high school, did you get back for high school here?
Yeah. So I went back to high school, tried public school, went to Hillwood.
Okay.
And same thing.
Is that
fights?
East National? No.
That's in the Bellevue area.
Yeah.
So they tried to be in main school because they didn't want to put me in with special education. Sure. Special education is for people who really aren't doing that well educationally. Sure. But it's also for kids who get in a lot of trouble, which was me. And those kids are just like being in, jail. Really, the mentality of there's a lot of fighting in special ed, but I ended up getting put there because I couldn't act right in regular school. Sure. And it was really embarrassing for me because I knew I was small kids, but at the same time, like I had to accept what I was doing, right? Yeah. I mean, I was making really, really poor choices. By this time, drugs were rampant in school. I had people in the neighborhood that were pushing drugs, that were older than me, that were pushing me to sell drugs. Man. So by the time I was a freshman in high school, I'm bringing drugs to school with me and selling it, and back in those days, it was really frowned upon, but this was like the dawn of the hip hop era with like Tupac and
let's go
Snoop Dogg and everybody's smoking pot and everybody's listening to rap music and it's like the coolest in his thing. And so pot was just like beer was back in the 80s. It's just normal. Yep. And so, I mean, I wasn't the only one. Let's just put it that way. Sure. Like, there was a ton of people that was doing it. I was just the kind of kid that was just, like I said, just constantly getting in trouble, getting in a fight. So I get kicked out of that school for getting in a fight in special education.
So you're just angry. So you're just pissed off about, was it mainly, did the bullying continue?
Yeah, because I was always short.
Oh, okay.
I was always short. I played on a football team, and the guys that hit the hardest, I tried to hit them the hardest, even though they're twice my size. Sure. But you get in the locker rooms and stuff like that. Sure. People always just like they'll man check you. Yeah. They'll want to know like if you're real, if you're you're just talking the talk. Sure. So if you punched me, I was gonna punch you back. Right. And it didn't matter how big you were. That was just. Since I made that declaration in the 3rd grade, like from now on, I'm gonna stand up for myself. I don't care if you beat me to a pulp, I'm gonna fight. So I just couldn't walk away. That's just me. And a lot of it, I had a big mouth, so sometimes I asked for it. Yeah. Because if you chirped at me, I was gonna chirp back.
Yeah, I feel that. I do too.
Yeah, and
it's got me in trouble for sure.
And I'm telling you, man, like as I tell this story, I feel like I'm talking about somebody else. Because I don't even relate to that anger anymore.
That's awesome.
Because power of Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus. But, there it is.
I have to interject as we keep going because there's a really spread the positive part of the story. Yeah. But yes, at that time, man, I was mad at the world. I was mad because I wasn't doing well. My parents were mad at me because I wasn't doing well. All the other kids that we went to church with, they didn't have those problems. They were doing. You could see them being future doctors and lawyers and all that, and here I was on the way to an early grave or early prison sentence. Jeez. And they didn't know how to stop it. And my dad's a military man, and so we really butted heads because he was one of those like just do what you're told, you know? And I'm one of like, well. Easy for you to say.
I don't like that idea.
You're a little bit taller than me. Your journey was probably a little bit different than mine. Yeah. But again, my fault. I never really talk about it. I should have brought it with me today. But one of the things I usually share with people when I share my testimony is I have an old art piece that I had when people were doing art in the 4th grade. And I drew this picture of a skull with blood all over it. And at the top, it says bloody murder. And I used to draw pictures of like Santa Claus with his head holding decapitated heads and stuff. That's how messed up I was. Man. That's how dark and
bullying is this is a PSA, man. Don't bully people. Period. Like, don't bully people.
Yeah, it's not good.
Man, I get it though, man. Like you got to stand up for yourself. You got to, You got to do what you got to do at times, but dang.
Right.
I feel that, man.
Yeah. Well, just not having a healthy outlet to be able to express that anger. I didn't really have Christ in my life, even though I was being forced to go to church all the time. Church wasn't my answer because, as far as I was concerned, Jesus wasn't going to come down from a chariot and come to my rescue when I was having those bathroom brawls.
Sure.
I mean, that was between me and them. There wasn't no God there. That's the way I looked at it.
Sure.
So, so we'll fast forward to high school. After getting kicked out of high school, they sent me to another school locally that I didn't want to go to, but it was, again, for troubled kids and kids that had attention deficit disorder orders and other types of learning disabilities. And so when I went to school there, same thing, just a different school.
Yep.
No different. So like I said, when I say I got kicked out of a lot of schools for fighting, that story.
It's just perpetual. It's
just vicious cycle over and over and over again.
Yeah. So
we'll fast forward through that because there's not too much other than a little bit of the same old repeat. By the time I'm 18 years old, I'm really in a bad spot. I've got some of the worst Creve Hall friends you can think of. These guys are like heavy into drugs. I mean, we're talking about guys running around with guns and bats and stuff. When car stealing's not below the norm.
Sure.
Gang fights and shootouts and things like that is not below the norm. Anybody went to Overton Creve Hall knows, like, that's not below the norm.
Right.
That's the area that I grew up in.
Wow.
And that's where we were living at the time. So, yeah, I had a lot of friends in the neighborhood. It got me in a lot of trouble. And I ended up in jail in Franklin.
Okay.
And there's some bad boys in. Now you're a small guy in a school, you might have a teacher that break it up.
Mm-hmm.
You're a small guy in jail and you fight with somebody, ain't nobody breaking it up until the guards come.
Damn.
So, it's not the best place in the world to be for a small guy unless you know how to fight. So I had some of my run-ins with some of the toughest guys in there. And that's a whole different experience. And I knew that I never wanted to go back to jail after I finally got out. But when I did get out, man, I just made some small attempts to try and turn my life around.
There you go.
First thing I did was fell in love with a girl.
That's amazing.
Got married.
Nice.
And was even going to church, trying to do the right things. And then found out she had cheated on me about 6 different times. Six different guys.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaking thing to go through, and I didn't know what to do. I will say this is a great place to say this. The devil is always looking for an angle.
Yep. He
will use depression, anxiety. He will use bullying. He will use injuries. He will use divorce. Anything he can do to get you to a place to where you feel like you need an escape, he's not beneath it. And I've been hit in all those areas. Sure. I've gotten on drugs because of injuries. I've gotten on drugs because of depression. I've gotten on drugs because of, just not. Partying. Yeah, you name it. Yeah. Divorce.
Sure.
But the divorce.
Man.
Here's where the story gets crazy. Okay. Whatever you thought before was crazy, it ain't crazy.
Oh,
that's
boy.
That's just a buildup.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So, my wife the girl I fell in love with, she cheats on me all these times. I don't know what to do. I'm going down to the jacuzzi at the apartments, hanging out, and I meet some new friends. Now, this is the worst thing I ever could have done is draw a really close relationship with other hurt people who were hurting just as badly as I was, about the same age. And we were at an age where we were very influential, but we were also very destructive, just almost like we were competing with each other to see who could, do the most drugs or go, the furthest south that you could go. And so Adam and Dustin, those were these two. They're both brothers, and we just drunk by the poolside all summer long.
Man.
And before you know it, like we're escalating from just drinking to smoking pot to doing cocaine to doing LSD to smoking crack. Like,
jeez,
man, we're heavy into it.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking like going Dickerson Road, doing drug deals. You know anything about Dickerson Road? Like, that's the part of town. You know, you just don't go do.
Yeah, sweet.
You don't go do drug deals.
Yeah.
But we were just dumb. And anyways, he and those two brothers and I, we got in a lot of trouble together. Gotten to a point to where there were home invasions, things that I'll just say, I'm not going to talk about it, but there were home invasions, and they were crazier than me in that regard, stealing guns and things like that out of people's houses. Like, this was a different lifestyle for me.
Yeah.
And my guys were going nuts, but they were still my best friends, the only ones that I had at the time.
Yeah.
So we get an apartment, and then we start. The only way we made money was selling drugs. That was it. Because none of us wanted a job because we stayed high all the time.
Touche.
Anyways, what's that old saying? Don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah, that's a biggie. Yeah. I've heard that.
So we ran out of money. We were doing all of our own stuff. So we couldn't pay our electric bill. I remember us tearing like all of our furniture up and setting it on fire just to have heat during the winter time. Yeah, stuff like that. But one thing that, just kind of give you a perspective of what was going on is, we got to the point where we couldn't afford real drugs to use and to sell, so we were selling people fake drugs.
Oh my gosh.
We were doing fake IDs, like anything we could to make money.
Sure.
So anyways, these random guys, I don't even remember who they are, they stopped by, and we just cut up some pieces of paper and told them it was LSD acid and sent them on their way. We got paid, but the problem is we did the deal like at our place where we live. We were too arrogant, stupid, whatever word you want to use.
Oh man.
Anyways, I get a call back later that night from the guys that we sold it to, and they called me and they said he was pissed.
Oh yeah.
But you know me, I got an attitude, so I'm like, man, if it don't work for you, that's on you. That's not on me. Y'all probably did something to it,
It's paper.
Yeah.
Wow.
Long story short, he makes a phone call while we're at the table. We're playing some cards, and he says, "Hey, man, I'm outside. We need to handle our business." So I was like, "All right." So, anyways, we go. We're getting our stuff together because we felt like we was about to be scrapping outside because it was popping off.
Yeah.
We go outside. Start to go outside, and all of a sudden, there's a loud noise that shocks the entire building. It was. Grace God, brother. This guy put a pipe bomb on the car that we drove. And instead of putting it to where it would go up into the gas tank to blow it up, it blew sideways. Police show up, bomb squads, like all kind of stuff. It's crazy.
Dude.
And
what?
the police, one of the detectives walks in and he goes, "Well, we know you guys been selling drugs out here. We've been watching y'all for a while, but bombs in apartment buildings take priority over whatever pettiness y'all are into." So
that's good.
Jeez. But
insane.
And literally,
bro.
Yeah. So
what, y'all like early 20s at this point, or?
Yeah, we're in our early 20s for sure.
Dang, man.
Yeah. And it's not getting any better. We're meeting some of the lowest cats that you could meet out there in the world, and it's just if you want evil, the devil's got a buffet for you.
Man.
And we were the opposite of iron sharpening iron. We were not deserving of life. We should have been in jail many, many times for things that we did. And so even for that, you know, like I know I was spared. I was thankful to have a mom that kept praying for me even when I didn't live at home. My dad that kept praying for me.
Where's the little bro? Is he
my brother?
Yeah.
That's funny that you asked that question. It's actually really good timing. So my brother Brandon, he was smart enough not to take my path. He went to David Lipscomb College, was getting a degree, and he called me because he knew I was just lost his last year's Easter egg. And he said, bro, he kept doing this to me. Bro, Jesus is so good. He's so good, man. He loves you so much. And I'm like, Brandon, can we talk about anything else but God? I don't want to talk about God.
Man.
Because honestly, at that time, I'd already accepted the fact that I wasn't going to heaven. Either I wasn't going to heaven, God wasn't real, or the other alternative was God. I don't know why I thought this, but God didn't create hell for people like me, that it was just for the devil, and maybe I'd just dissipate and just never be here.
Sure.
But faith was just not a big thing for me at the time. And my parents, that was all for them. That was all for my brother, but they would not shut up about it. It was just like they just kept pursuing and pursuing. So anyways, fast forward, I'm waking up from a night of partying. My life is miserable at this point because now I'm probably 28 years old. Me and my friends have just done nothing with our lives. We got no money, no education, no skill sets, debt, bankruptcy, divorce, all the things that, you don't want to achieve in life. Sure. I pretty much checked all those boxes. And so I was just really broke, busted, and disgusted. I wanted to kill myself, to be honest with you. Because when you wake up every day and you realize all the damage that you caused and you realize that you've accomplished nothing in your life, it's a really bitter pill to swallow, because you go in and out of sobriety when you do drugs, because drugs mask everything and kind of hide the sin so you don't really get in touch with it. Yep. But when you wake up and kind of shake the cobwebs off and you look yourself in the mirror and the reality of all the things you've done, all the people you hurt, all the directions that you're going in, and all that is just, it's like a web that you spun your own web, and you're stuck in it, and you don't even know how to get out of it. Like, even if I wanted to turn my life around and go in a good direction, I've made so many mistakes. I've just felt like trapped, really, really, really trapped. And so I just remembered there were so many days where I was walking around with a 45 to my head. Man. And I wanted to die. I did. I wanted to die because I was tired of feeling like a disappointment to my parents. I was tired of feeling like what was wrong with the world. I was tired of the fact that all of the lies that I bought into of the rap game and, just you can take whatever you want.
Sure.
Right? It's a buffet. And then you realize like it's all a lie.
Man. What's going on, everybody? Super excited to announce another member of the STP 1200 Club, our family over at P's and Q's Pickup, your local junk removal specialist, your one-stop shop when it comes to getting rid of things you don't want or need. We take just about anything, including furniture, appliances, trash, construction debris, and more. We prioritize eco-friendly disposal practices as we sort through everything in order to keep as much out of the landfill as possible. But yeah, we recycle and donate what we can and properly dispose of the rest. We offer volume-based, flexible pricing options and can do anything from a single item to a full property clean-out. Give us a call or shoot us a message at 615-995-9881 to schedule your free, no obligation estimate today. Huge shout out to the team at P's and Q's Pickup. Matthew, Pookie, and Haley, we greatly appreciate y'all. Super excited to have y'all as members of the 1200 Club. Y'all be sure to stay tuned for some great content from these folks. Their social media game's already on point, but excited to have them in studio utilizing the benefits of the 1200 Club. Huge shout out again to P's and Q's Pickup. Be sure to check them out. Just Google P's and Q's Pickup and you will find the best junk removal specialists here in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah. So I know we're getting there. I know we're getting there.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a turning point. You were saying,
yes.
Talking about feeling hopeless and lost and all that. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that at some level. Obviously, maybe not as deep as you were, but man, I've had, seasons of my life where I've felt a lot of those things, just as far as disappointment, not being enough, struggling with faith stuff, struggling with, why the world's so crazy, know? So I definitely feel you there, man. So let's talk about when the total transformation happened.
Brother, thank you so much. Yeah, great. So anyways, I get a letter from my grandmother, my sweet grandmother, who's been nothing but nice to me my entire life.
Nice.
Salt of the earth.
They usually are.
Every time I go there, she'd feed us and make special meals and give us money, tuck it in our pockets before we leave. So she's never said anything bad to me.
Yeah.
She sends me this letter out of nowhere, completely out of character for her. It's not one of those "we love you" with scriptures and all that in there. It's a very pointed letter. It says, "Ryan, I love you enough to tell you that you're going to go to hell.
Oh, snap.
If you don't change."
Wow.
And as soon as I got it, man, I was so mad. I called my mom right away, and I said, "You tell her never to write me again, never call me. Tell her she's dead to me." And what was she thinking writing a letter like that to me? But her testimony as a righteous woman who'd never hurt me, offended me, stuck with me. And I couldn't shake it. Every day I kept those words and that letter just kept speaking to me. And I kept thinking about the reality of what she was saying. And there was a part of me that I believed it, but I just didn't want to deal with it. So, anyways, shortly after reading this letter, I get a TV. I was just watching TV, and this guy, his name's Ken Freeman. A lot of people know him. He was talking about his lifestyle and just growing up troubled, lots of things that he shouldn't have done, and a very similar testimonial to mine. But you know what I didn't know? I didn't know he was a preacher. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been listening to him. I thought he was just an average guy that had figured out some, worldly path to get on the right track. So
Sure.
Otherwise, God knew I wouldn't have listened. But anyways, I listened to this guy talk for about 45 minutes. He didn't even drop the word God, hardly any. He just talked about his testimony. And so I was so engaged. I'm sitting here just like this, all right, man, what was it? What's the trick? And then he's like, well, if you want to hear the rest of the story, you got to come to this church at this time, and I'll tell you the rest of the story. Now, here's conflicting. I hadn't been in a church in probably 10 years. That's real.
Yeah.
I hadn't been in church in a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to church. I grew up in church and had that experience. I'd already made up my mind I didn't want to be religious. And here's this guy calling me, telling me to hear the end of the story, which I'm dying to hear. And I'll tell you this, Trent. This may sound crazy, but it's not.
I love this stuff.
I never knew the gospel the whole time I was in church, and I was forced to go to church for 18 years.
Man.
And that's not because the teachers didn't do a good job.
Right.
It's because I never really cared to understand the penalty of sin, what sin was, and how bad I needed a Savior. None of that connected with me as a young man.
Man.
So, the only thing I knew was the songs and the hymns, that we sung, stuff like that. So anyways, So fast forward back to him and going to church, I had to make that decision. And I did. I ended up going. And at the time, I was with another girl, and I was pretty serious about marrying her. But we were partying a lot too. Like, we partied all the time. She's not the kind of girl you bring home to mom.
Sure.
I asked her to go to church with me. I go to church there, and he talks about a second chance at life and about redemption. I didn't know that was for me. I really didn't.
Right.
So I was sitting in a pew, and he said, "Look, man, if you are serious, if you want the real God to meet the real you and something really awesome to happen, you can't just sit there. You got to move. Yes. You got to act. You got to do something.
Right.
You got to come down here and get right with him. Or you can sit in that chair and be fake and pretend like everything's right as rain, even though on the inside you're still broken."
Man.
So I'm going to tell you what happened.
Let's go.
I'll try and tell you without crying.
Hey, it's okay. Feel your feels. We cry on here all the time. We good.
I go walking down the aisle, man, and then all of a sudden, like, the walls of Jericho in the form of tears just fell. And I didn't know none of those people there. I'd never even been to church there. This is this random guy walking forward, and I'm down front, man, just crying my eyes out. They take me to the back room. I'm crying for like another hour and a half.
Wow.
After I walk out, my girlfriend was in the car and going home. She's like, "What in the world was that about?" It's like, "You were in there for forever." And I said, "I don't know what just happened, but I'm telling you right now, I feel like I could fly." I got home. The very first thing I did was I took a lot of the music that connected with my angry drug life personality. I took it all and I threw it in the trash.
Wow.
In the trash, man.
Yeah.
Just like hundreds of dollars worth of CDs and stuff. Like, it was just gone in an instant. It's like I knew spiritually that God had done something inside of me. And I couldn't connect with it, but I knew that that's what he wanted me to do.
Nice.
He's like, "That's not you anymore."
Good.
She thought I was crazy. She's like, "You can at least go to the pawn shop and pawn this stuff, right?" So anyways, then, we're not intimate anymore. I can't touch her. This girl, like, I loved her, but I couldn't touch her. And she's like, "What's going on with you?" I'm like, "No, there's just something inside of me." Like, I moved out. I moved to the next bedroom. I said, "I don't know what's going on, but I need to be myself. I need to be left alone." Started reading the Bible, started praying. Like, weird stuff started happening to me. And I'm like, this ain't me. This is not like me. Like, if you knew me and you knew everything I was about, like, this was like a total transformation, right? Something crazy happened to me that I couldn't explain.
Man.
And so I called the church and asked to speak to one of the pastors and go have some coffee with him. I said, "Man, the craziest thing has happened to me." And I just kind of shared with him my story. I said, "Man, I've been angry my whole life. I felt hopeless my whole life. And up until recently, I felt broken my whole life, But now, for something inside of me, like, I have hope. I have some kind of weird sense of freedom. I have joy. I'm doing things that I didn't normally do. Like, I stopped drinking. I stopped using tobacco. Stopped using drugs. Stopped having sex. Stopped listening to my music. And now all of a sudden, like, I'm Dudley Do-Right, like my mom and my dad. And I'm wondering, how is this happening?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a supernatural transformation that you just can't put your finger on. You can't, with a microscope, look at it and examine it, because it's something bigger and more powerful than that.
Yeah.
But when Jesus, the chain breaker, enters the equation, it changes everything. And so when I met with this pastor and told him all that, I said, "What's going on with me, man? I just feel like my life has just changed so much in the last 24 hours. And he said, "You're a new creation." He said, "Old is gone, new has come." God took your old heart, a perverted heart, a wicked heart, and he gave me a new heart.
Man.
And he showed me multiple scriptures in the Bible where that was his promise.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, God became real. Because all the supernatural stuff that was happening to me that I couldn't figure out, the words came off the pages, and it was like, okay, that's happening, and that's happening, and that's happening, and holy cow, the Bible's real, God's real, Jesus is real, my grandparents are right, my mom and dad were right, my brother was praying for me right. I was an answered prayer. I really believe that. I believe that they kept praying for me, and all that prayer, it just kept pushing me into a place to where I was either going to die or I was going to take God's only way out. And man, ever since then, so let's fast forward. I get to this place where I can't live there anymore with this girl, and I call my mom and dad. You got to know, me and my dad had like a hate relationship at that time because of all the bad things I was doing. So anyways, I told him I got saved. My mom was like, well, that's so good. And my dad's like, don't believe the hype, right?
Sure.
I begged him to let me come home because I wanted to start a new life. I came home, immediately went into seminary school.
Wow.
Yeah. Immediately. Because I knew that God had a call in my life.
Man.
So I ended up, I did 2 years at a local church first, just doing a lot of studying and research, and then went to seminary school. Came back. You know, when you sin a lot and you have a lifestyle like mine, it doesn't take away the curses that some of the webs that you spin for yourself. Like, so the bankruptcy was still there. The fact that you had some divorces still there. The fact that you alienated a lot of family and friendships still there.
Yeah.
So when I come back from seminary school, I've got no money. I've spent all my money on God, to be honest with you. I was building churches and driving an hour and a half away to help church plants and stuff like that. And just like, don't worry, God's going to provide. So anyways, long story short with that, I ended up, my dad doing the best that he knew how. It's like, look, man, you're basically 29, 30 years old now. You can't live here forever. You're gonna have to move out. So they lovingly kicked me out of the nest. I didn't have anywhere to go. And ended up, it was just like a kind of a out of the blue phone call from a friend of mine that says, hey, I think I know for you and your testimony. And it was a place called 180 Degree Ministries. He said, this guy, Steve Austin.
No way.
Yeah.
I know Steve.
He said he wants to talk to you. So I ended up talking to him, sharing my testimony. And he said, man, I don't have a house for you to stay, but I got a place for you to minister. If you want to come down here, you can work here. At first, there was no salary. I was just doing it, pro bono. But I knew God had called me. I was sleeping in my Jeep at the time. I didn't care. And here's the cool part about that is Steve was in a staff meeting with me one day, and he said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to pray and believe that God is going to bring some guy in here one day that's struggling just like you and me used to. And his dad is going to have a lot of money, and he's going to offer to start our first freedom program, and you're going to run it. And I was kind of like a little dismissal, like, well, that'd be great. Are you like prophesying that into existence, or is this just
Right.
like, it's a nice prayer? And I kid you not, like within 24 hours, a guy out of Germantown, Tennessee, brought his son in named Jim Canyer, needed some help. And Steve pulled him in his office, and he said, well, I've got the best help you can get, and he'll get 24-hour supervision, but we got some strings attached. After the end of that conversation, we went out, found a rental house. He paid for all the furnishings, everything.
Holy smokes.
And it was a miracle. And we started our first Freedom House. We started bringing in all kinds of people. We had volunteers making bunk beds and stuff like that. We lacked nothing.
Yeah.
But here I was coming to Murfreesboro just on a prayer, because I didn't know anything. I had no money. I had bankruptcy. I had no way to afford an apartment. I had no job technically, and I was just ministering. So then after we get the Freedom House and I have food and a shelter over my head, this other guy, Dr. Phil Roberts out of Franklin, I'm ministering to his kids, Will, and I'm trying to remember the other, Eric. And I had been doing that pro bono for 2 years at their house. He shows up at 180 Degrees Ministries and just closed some kind of a land deal, hands a check to Steve for $25,000 and says, I want this to go to Ryan.
Man. That's awesome, man. Got goosebumps. Man, that's incredible. Yeah. So, man, shout out to 180 Degrees Ministry, man. Steve, he was an early guest way back in the day. That's wild.
Really?
Yeah, like early. My friend, do you know Jessica Bryan?
Name sounds familiar.
It used to be Jessica Reed.
Okay.
But yeah, she's really good friends with him. Yeah, that's amazing. Excuse me, small world. Man, so that's all right. So you get a check for $25K.
Yeah.
You're on the up. You're coming up. Things are clicking.
Yeah, I finally, worked myself out of bankruptcy. Let's fast forward a little bit. I ended up meeting after I'd worked for 180 for probably, 4 years. I'd found a church girl, a really good girl.
There you go. Right?
And still married to her today. Her name's Brandy.
Hey.
We got 3 kids.
Man, congratulations.
Yeah. So when I was getting married, I'd spent a lot of time at the Freedom Program. Freedom Program probably been there for about 3 years, 4 years, somewhere around there. So when I got married and moved out, I had to have a job that provided for my family. I couldn't really work on a 180 salary anymore. So that's where Total Transformation Heating and Air Conditioning got birthed.
Okay.
So what I didn't realize is all of the years that I'd just been sowing seeds for basically peanuts, right?
Sure.
Just loving people, helping people. It's like all that stuff came back. I wasn't even expecting it. When I started a business, all of a sudden people started saying like, hey, Ryan, that guy that works at 180, yeah, he started an AC company, call him. So I started getting tons and tons of calls just right out the gate. And it was just like this overflowing of blessings from heaven. Manna from heaven was just falling like crazy. And so we were able to buy our first house, and, we ended up growing our business. And I think at the highest point, we've had like 9 trucks.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is from, some old, really undeserving individual that went from being in jail, went from being broke, busted, and disgusted.
Pipe bombs.
Jeez. Many fights. That's and
wild.
Many close overdoses and things like that. There's a lot of things. Like I said, I probably have 30 cat lives of stories that I could tell you, from times I almost died on cliffs to knife fights to, guns and things, people shooting guns in the car, like right next to my head. Yeah. I mean, I've had so many.
What?
Yeah. It's been pretty crazy. Like I said, I'm really, really thankful to be alive. But now on the flip side of that, it's like I had nothing and now I have everything.
Right.
So you want to talk about a total transformation? You go from nothing to everything. That's what that is.
Yeah.
So now I got a house, multiple cars, high credit score, a beautiful wife, children that love me.
Let's go.
Right? One that's in pharmaceutical school right now in his final year.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Man.
So you want to see like what that looks, a total transformation looks like, and for the rest of my life, that happened on that one church day, where I came down, and it took one moment with God for the real God to meet the real me, for something really powerful to take place.
Yeah.
And then Total Transformation as a company, it's just, we've had opportunities to grow big. I'm not that guy.
Right.
I can't shoulder the guilt of charging what a lot of these large companies charge to people. It's just so much. They have to finance it.
Yeah.
So I still feel like, even though I'm in a business world now, I still carry that nonprofit mentality with me.
Yeah.
I don't like financing people and putting them in debt.
Yeah.
You don't want people to be a slave to the lender.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to bring a Christ-like approach to our business.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And so that's how we help people.
Yeah.
That, and then of course, my testimony anytime I get a chance to share it.
Yeah. Do you get to do that much?
I share it on Facebook quite a bit every day. Of course. Yeah. I mean, I can't, countless times I share it.
Sure.
It's just, you always look for God's timing on stuff like that, and you look for the right to speak into somebody's life. I've got people that still call me today. I was on a conversation with a guy yesterday that was needing some direction. So yes, I have people that call me that know my testimony, that want to know.
That's awesome.
Now, I forgot. This is the most important part of the story.
Okay.
I didn't even tell you.
Can't miss
So my
that.
two best friends that I grew up with, right after I got saved on that church day, I called, they called me, Adam and Dustin. Dustin called me and he said, "Hey man, we're going to have a party tonight. You want to come over?" No. Told him what happened to me, how I got saved. I said, "Y'all come with me and we can go rock this God thing if you want, but we are not, I'm done with the party and the drugs, all that." He's like, "That's okay, man. You can come over. You don't even have to drink." I'm like, "I see what you're doing, devil. No, I'm not down with that." Anyways, we separated right there. Our friendship, unhealthy friendship, but a friendship that we had for many, many years. Now, 2 years after I got saved, while I was in seminary school, I see my best friend in handcuffs, and he did some really bad things. He's locked up for the rest of his life.
Wow.
His brother Adam, that I was also close friends with, stayed in touch with him, stayed on drugs, couldn't get off, called me all the time, say, "Hey bro, what did you do? How did you change?" Jesus, man. Jesus. You got to call his name. But you got to be real about it. Don't be fake. And it's a really sad story because he would always say, "But what else besides Jesus? If I just take the Jesus," I said, "Can't take the Jesus part out. You can't, man. It's like saying baking a cake without flour.
Yeah.
Can't take it out." So he ended up dying of an overdose.
Man, I'm sorry.
He left behind a wife and a child. So my two best friends that I was close with, that we did all those horrible things with, only one of them made it out. And you're looking at them.
Yeah.
And the other one's dead, and the other one's locked up for the rest of his life.
Jeez, man. Oh, that's Jesus.
100%.
That's Jesus right there.
Yeah.
Man. Well, man, what else? So Total Transformation, y'all are still going strong, obviously. What are you excited about? What's on deck? Anything like that?
Well,
or anything on the ministry side?
Yeah,
Podcasting side? Brent told me to put you on the spot, so that was for you, Brent.
Okay.
He said he's been on you for a while to do a podcast.
Oh man, this is it, man. This may be the only one I ever do. So save it.
Had to shoot, right?
Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of times for me to share my story. My personal preference is just to sit down with somebody that's going through a hard time, and watch them go through that transformation process and to help them. This is great.
Yeah.
I love this, but this is not where I like to be.
I get that.
I like to be
one-on-one
with somebody that's actually going through something.
That's real.
But I'm not afraid to share my testimony clearly, just because I'm not that same person anymore. You can hear my testimony if you want to think about what I did in the past and connect that person to who I am now. You can do that all you want. I'm not that person.
Yeah.
I knew who that person was. I don't even recognize them.
Yeah.
And people
That's
say, well,
powerful,
don't you go
man.
back? Don't you don't you have a tendency to want to do this, do that? Man, I just love Jesus, bro. Like,
That's
that
awesome.
don't change.
That's beautiful.
I mean, once you've been spared, once God has shown you, like, you deserve this, but I gave you that. Why? It's like going back to vomit when somebody just introduced you to a cheesecake, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
good.
I'm not ever going back there. I love it. I love being a Christian. I love, I have a really good relationship with my dad. My dad is my hero now.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
he is. He's my hero. My mom, my hero as well. My brother, he's right up there. I mean, it's life couldn't be better.
That's amazing.
So
man.
it's like, I mean, literally, you just go from one extreme to the next. When I started my business, I wanted it to reflect what happened to me. I couldn't come up with a name better than Total Transformation.
Man, it's perfect. I see the cross in there.
Yeah.
And that's I love the logo. That's fire. Pretty
Yeah.
sure I've seen y'all's trucks around for sure.
Yes, sir.
Man, well, man, Ryan, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being on and the work you're doing. Where can people find you, or plug away get your plugs on? Where can people find Total Transformation? Find you, all the above.
Yeah, I'm not hard to find.
Ryan Kennedy. We'll have it in the show notes.
We have a pretty good advertising team that
Okay.
does a pretty good job of putting us out on all over social media.
Yeah.
So you can find us on Google. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever social
all the
media
socials.
you use. Yeah,
Nice,
just
man.
total. Just remember, it's transformation with the number 4 in it.
With the 4.
Transformation. And we just really appreciate the time that
Yeah,
you've given me just to be able to share this story, and hopefully one of your listeners out there got to benefit from it.
If they didn't, they might need to change the channel. This is why we do what we do, man. This is this fills my cup so much, and just a great example of everything we're about, man. Just being able to second chances, recovery, redemption, man. Just not giving up. Taking care of your people, all the stuff, man. It's very in line with everything we're about here at Spread the Positive. So it's been an honor, my friend.
Do you mind if I share one story?
No,
with you
please
real
do.
quick?
Please do.
This is one that I thought when I came here that had to be told.
Okay, perfect.
Right. So when I was at 108 Degrees Ministries, one of the guys that used to spend a lot of time with, he'd had previous drug problems. Steve always took people out on the boat on the lake and would minister to them, even like to cabins and stuff, just to do a weekend getaway.
Nice.
And so we had this one guy, his name was Tim, and we grew really tight with Tim. Like, Tim used to come to my house and work too. So anyways, one day we were doing what they used to call a 2-week freedom program. And for whatever reason, God had put it on my heart just to talk about being real, right? And I have some acronyms for real. Real is, the wrong part of real is reluctantly expressing a lie.
Damn, that's good.
So-
Excuse me. That's really good.
I told Tim and the rest of the people that were in the room, I said, look, here's the thing about God. I shared my story and coming down forward. You can't come with lies. Don't say, I got a porn addiction or I got a smoking problem when you're doing something way worse than that. If you got some real chains that you need broken, then don't play games with God. So my encouragement to you is whatever you're dealing with, come correct or don't come at all. Just go home. You're going to waste 2 weeks.
Man.
So I really focused in on that. And as soon as we went to a break, my friend Tim comes outside and says, hey, man, can I talk to you? I said, yeah. He said, man, I got something to tell you, and it's going to rock you, but I have to tell it. What you said to me today, I know that's what God told me. He said, I've been molesting my 14-year-old stepdaughter for quite a while, and I'm tired of hurting her, and I know it's wrong, and I'm ready to accept my punishment.
Jeez.
I mean, my world was rocked. I'm sitting there, like, half of me is like angry because I'm like wanting to punch him because I'm thinking about what he just said, the human side of me, right?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
thinking about the little girl.
Yeah.
I was just, but then there was also like a little bit of obviously respect in a God moment. Like God's using this moment to spare this little girl. Because she's probably been praying that this stops.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
So anyways, me and Steve bring Tim back to the office. And we're like, man, you know what this means, right? And he says something pretty profound. He's like, man, I'd rather be locked up on the outside than be locked up on the inside.
Wow.
He said, I just want to be free from this burden. I don't ever want to carry it again. I know I'm going to have to go to jail. I know I may never get out, but I know my wife's going to hate me. So let me tell you, the hardest thing you'll ever do as a minister is sitting down and watching something like that, some type of transparency like that take place where he looks to her and says, I did this. I've been doing this. It's like a Jerry Springer gone wild moment. Like, you don't even know what to do. You don't even have the words to say. But as soon as he told her, he got locked up and he got sent away. But I felt like it was important to say that because God listens to prayers. And sometimes things like that don't need to be happening, some of the world's worst things that could happen that you could think of. Think about how God interjected in that moment for that little girl and put so much pressure and so much anguish on that man's heart. He didn't have to come out and incriminate himself.
Right.
He could have kept on doing it. Most people wouldn't have had the ability to do that. But because he knew he was dealing with a God that was bigger than a jail cell, he said, man, I'm messing with God here. And I'll never will forget. It was horrific and beautiful at the same time.
Wow.
And the only beautiful part was just that she got spared.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, what you said, that's powerful, what you said. That's, speaks to me for sure.
And God moves like that. We've had so many stories like that when I was at 180, which was why I was such a big fan of theirs and what they did, because there's a lot of those type of stories and things. But it also is, as much of a blessing it is you still have to deal with the downside of the people that don't always make it out. But you hang on to the positives, the things that go good, and the negatives, you just have to let it. You just have to leave it to God and just trust that He knows what He's doing.
That's right, man.
Yeah. But I don't know if we spread enough positive today.
No, man, we definitely did. No, absolutely. That was powerful, man. And what a story, what a testimony, I already said it. That's what this whole thing's about, is, sharing these types of stories, because it's important. People can get saved. People can recover. People can, it's like when hope is lost, like you can find it again.
Right.
That's that's powerful reminder today, man. But that was typically like to wrap up. I want to do this one closing question we always do, man. We call it the Grateful For. 4 things you're most grateful formation. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Grateful for 4 things you're most grateful for right now. What would you say?
Oh man, Jesus is right there at the top.
Yeah,
it's got to be. A praying mother, grandmother, and brother.
Yep.
Who never gave up on me.
Yep.
My wife. Yep. Who puts up with me, even though I've changed a lot. Sometimes I'm not the easiest person to live with.
Sure.
But I don't know how many of us are perfect.
I think 0.
None that I know. And then I would say I have a business partner. His name is Ronnie Ponder.
Okay.
Really smart guy. He's been doing this about 35 years. One of the main guys over at Lee Company for a long time.
Nice.
And we got lucky enough to bond with his company.
Wow.
And he's a good friend, a real friend.
Wow.
We talk on a regular basis, and when he's down, I kind of lift him up. When I'm down, he kind of lifts me up. So I would definitely want to give him a shout out.
Shout out to Ronnie, man. That's what's up, man. Well, Ryan, thank you again for being on, man. Thank you for sharing that story. I know it's probably not the most easy thing to do, but man, very appreciative, and it's really nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Shout out again to Brent High for suggesting this happen. And yeah, man, just really grateful for this time and for getting to know you, man. I look forward to, future collabs or anything we might be able to do in the future to, keep spreading the positive, man.
That's awesome, man. I think what you guys are doing is really good.
Yeah.
And I was just glad to be a part of it today.
Appreciate that, man. We'll wrap this one up, and we will see y'all on the next one. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Spread the Positive podcast. For more information about all the things we got going here at Spread the Positive, please check us out, spreadthepositive.net. Get involved with our underwriting, advertising, sponsorship program, start a podcast, or if you just want to support the mission, reach out on spreadthepositive.net or any of our social media handles at Spread the Positive. Look forward to connecting with y'all and giving y'all another fire episode on the next one. Thank you, and we will see you then. Let's go.